Queen Mary visits Australia with her daughter, Princess Josephine, an emotional homecoming that captured hearts around the world. Welcome to B News. On August 13, 2025, an extraordinary royal moment unfolded in the Southern Hemisphere, blending the warmth of family bonds with the grandeur of monarchy. Queen Mary of Denmark, accompanied by her youngest daughter, Princess Josephine, touched down in Australia for what has already been described as one of the most heartfelt and symbolic royal visits in recent memory. This was not simply an official trip to strengthen ties between two nations. For Queen Mary, it was a return to the land of her birth, a reconnection to her roots, and a walk through the memories of a past that shaped the woman she is today. For Princess Josephine, it was an introduction to her mother's heritage, a journey into a history she had only known through photographs and stories. The arrival was met with an electric atmosphere. Crowds had been gathering since the early hours, waving both Australian and Danish flags, many wearing homemade crowns or t-shirts featuring Mary's image from her youth. As the royal motorcade appeared, cheers erupted, and the sound of cameras clicking filled the air. This was more than a diplomatic welcome, it was the return of a daughter of the nation, now a queen. From the moment Queen Mary stepped off the plane, wearing a breezy cream ensemble paired with a soft green scarf that nodded to Australia's national colours, it was clear that every detail of this visit was deliberate. The green, symbolising the country's lush landscapes and commitment to environmental preservation, was paired with the cream to project both elegance and approachability. Holding Princess Josephine's hand tightly, Mary radiated maternal pride and quiet emotion. The young princess, wearing a floral dress with subtle eucalyptus prints, seemed to mirror her mother's poise. For Australians, seeing Mary return in this way was deeply symbolic. She had once walked these streets as Mary Donaldson, a young woman from Hobart, Tasmania, leading a life far removed from royal duties and global scrutiny. Now she returned, transformed into one of the most admired queens in the world, yet still connected to the ordinary girl she once was. For Princess Josephine, this was more than a trip, it was a chance to walk in her mother's footsteps, quite literally, and feel the atmosphere of a life that existed before Denmark and crowns entered the picture. Their first stop was at Queen Mary's former primary school, where teachers and students lined up to greet them with hand-painted signs, some reading "Welcome Home, Mary" and others with drawings of the Danish flag intertwined with the Southern Cross. It was a scene straight out of a storybook, but with very real emotions playing out. As Mary addressed the school assembly, her voice carried a warmth and sincerity that instantly connected her to the crowd. She spoke about the teachers who had nurtured her curiosity, the childhood friends who encouraged her dreams, and the small but significant moments that shaped her character. Princess Josephine sat attentively in the front row, clearly moved by her mother's recollections. It was a rare and precious moment, one where the roles of queen and mother blended seamlessly, showing Josephine that before the titles, there was simply Mary, a girl with aspirations and a family who loved her. The visit then moved to Hobart, Mary's hometown, where the streets were adorned with both Danish and Australian flags. Local businesses had gone to great lengths to honour her return, with shop windows displaying Danish pastries alongside Australian lamingtons, and cafes offering a special royal blend coffee for the day. The waterfront was perhaps the most emotionally charged stop of all. Standing by the harbour where she had spent so much of her youth, Mary looked out at the water with a wistful smile. Those close enough could see the moisture in her eyes, a subtle but undeniable sign that returning to these familiar views stirred a deep emotional current. Princess Josephine leaned against the railing beside her, taking in the view, perhaps wondering what it must have been like for her mother to grow up in such a place before the world knew her name. One of the most poignant moments of the trip was the private family reunion. Away from cameras and official ceremonies, Queen Mary and Princess Josephine visited relatives still living in Tasmania. While details of this meeting were kept away from public release, sources close to the family described it as warm, affectionate, and deeply grounding for both mother and daughter. For Josephine, meeting cousins and extended family members who live far from palaces and formal state dinners was a revelation, a reminder that her family roots extend into ordinary neighborhoods, with everyday lives and struggles. Mary has often spoken about the importance of humility, And this visit was a living lesson for her daughter in staying grounded no matter the titles one carries. The royal trip also included significant diplomatic and cultural engagements. Queen Mary attended a high-profile event in Sydney focused on climate change and sustainability, where she addressed a crowd of environmental leaders and policymakers. Speaking with passion, she drew connections between Denmark's green energy innovations and Australia's unique environmental challenges. Josephine, standing beside her, listened intently, occasionally smiling at the audience. Observers noted that the young princess's presence added a humanizing touch to the serious tone of the conference, showing that the next generation is already being groomed to take on such issues with the same dedication. Fashion, as always with Queen Mary, played a subtle yet powerful role throughout the visit. Each outfit she chose carried a layer of meaning. Whether through the use of Australian designers, fabrics native to the region, or color palettes that evoked the nation's natural beauty. Josephine's outfits often echoed her mother's in style or theme, reinforcing their visual unity. This coordination was no accident, it was a carefully considered diplomatic tool. By dressing in harmony, they visually told the story of a mother passing down not just royal duties but also values, traditions, and cultural awareness to her daughter. Media coverage of the visit was extensive, with headlines praising both the warmth of the public's reception and the grace with which Mary navigated the emotional complexity of a homecoming under the global spotlight. Editorials noted that this trip struck a rare balance, it was both intensely personal and strategically diplomatic. Television clips of Mary laughing with schoolchildren, embracing old friends, and walking through familiar streets flooded social media, where Australians and Danes alike shared their admiration and affection. By the final day of the tour, it was evident that the visit had left a lasting impact on all who witnessed it. At their departure, the crowd gathered at the airport was even larger than the one that had greeted them. Josephine waved enthusiastically to onlookers, her youthful smile capturing the joy of the moment. Queen Mary, dignified yet visibly moved, offered one last heartfelt look at the country that had given her life before destiny carried her far away. The engines of the royal plane roared to life, and as they ascended into the sky, they left behind not just handshakes and speeches but a renewed sense of connection between two nations, and between a queen, her daughter, and their shared heritage. For Australians, this visit was a reminder that their connection to Mary runs deeper than politics or ceremony. For Danes, it was a chance to see their queen as a woman of two worlds, gracefully bridging them both. And for Princess Josephine, it was a chapter in her life she will carry forever, a journey that deepened her understanding of who she is and where she comes from. Which leaves us with a question worth pondering. In an era where royalty often risks becoming a distant, formal institution, is it these deeply personal returns to one's roots that truly keep the crown connected to the people it serves?